Hello, everyone. I'm Sienna from Dragon Trail International. Thank you very much to Christina Xu for inviting me to join Worldview today to talk about the Chinese traveler's digital journey and how travel brands outside of China should use digital channels to reach Chinese consumers. As you may know, China has the world's largest and highest spending outbound tourism market, with steady recovery since the country reopened for international leisure travel in 2023. So it's a really important and high potential market for most destinations around the world, as well as one with a unique and ever-evolving digital landscape. Just a tiny bit of background about myself and Dragon Trail. I've been involved with Chinese outbound tourism since 2014, and prior to that, I lived in Beijing for 7 years. I joined Dragon Trail in 2017, and my work for them includes running our monthly webinar series on Chinese travel and digital trends, managing our biannual Chinese consumer sentiment reports and travel trade surveys, and writing weekly blog posts alongside other marketing and communications work. Headquartered in Beijing and with offices in Shanghai and Xi'an, Dragon Trail has been around since 2009, making it the same age as Chinese social media platform Weibo and older than WeChat. We focus on marketing for Chinese outbound tourism, working with brands and businesses around the world to help them reach Chinese consumers and the Chinese travel trade through digital marketing, as well as events, representation services, and market research. So with that background, let's turn first to an overview of the Chinese traveler's social media journey, from inspiration to research and planning their trip, to booking, the tools that they'll use in destination, and how they share their travel experience during and after the trip. There are three main things to understand from this illustration. First of all, the Chinese traveler will be using totally Chinese social media platforms and apps for the entire journey. There's some possibility that an international traveler may be using TripAdvisor or Instagram, for instance, but that will be in addition to and not instead of these Chinese apps. Second, as you can see from the icons, more than half of them are actually all from the WeChat ecosystem. So that's all one app, but WeChat includes so many different functions that are all used at different stages of the journey, including search, payment, mini programs, social sharing, and private chats. And third, you can see from the icons that WeChat isn't the only app that's now part of every part or almost every part of the journey. There are other Chinese apps that are now trying to compete with WeChat and with the OTAs like Ctrip by adding more functionalities like travel bookings to keep users in that app so they spend more time and more money there. Now, before we look in detail at the top social media platforms and how overseas travel brands can use them, I'd like to share a more detailed look at each stage of the Chinese traveler's digital journey based on consumer and travel trade survey data collected and published by Dragon Trail in 2025. These full reports are available for free on our website in case you want to review them in more detail later on. This spring, we surveyed experienced Chinese outbound travelers to identify their preferred platforms and information sources at different stages of the travel journey, from inspiration and information searching to booking and sharing. Let's start with inspiration about outbound travel destinations. Our survey results show that Chinese social media apps are the most important source of destination inspiration, with half of Chinese outbound travelers getting their destination inspiration there. 39% of Chinese outbound travelers get inspiration about outbound destinations from friends, family, and other acquaintances, and 30% of survey respondents were inspired by content discovered through online travel agencies or OTAs, such as Ctrip, which is China's biggest OTA. When searching information and planning their trips, Ctrip is the most widely used outbound destination information channel among Chinese outbound travelers, chosen by 69% of our survey respondents who had outbound travel experience. Ctrip's popularity for trip planning was especially high among the 45 to 65-year-old age group, with 76% of them choosing it. But there is a generational divide when it comes to destination information sources. While Ctrip is the most widely used channel for outbound destination information for travelers aged 35 and up, younger travelers are more likely to turn to social media to plan their trips, especially Xiaohongshu, also known as Red Note. Among travelers aged 18 to 34, Red Note ranks highest as a source of destination information. We also see a big difference across generations for the social media platform Douyin, which is the original Chinese version of TikTok. Here, 65% of travelers aged 18 to 24 use it to plan their outbound trips, compared to only 39% of travelers aged 45 and up. 30% of outbound travelers say they use WeChat for trip planning, and 32% use Dianping, which is a listings and review app that we'll look at in more detail later on. One important thing to understand about the Chinese outbound tourism market is that they don't tend to plan and book their trips too far in advance. 37% of Chinese outbound travelers start planning their trip 1 month in advance, with only 9% of survey respondents saying they start searching for destination-related information more than 3 months before their trip. So this is something to keep in mind when you're considering marketing campaigns and content planning. Now let's talk about booking. Chinese online travel agencies, OTAs, are the most preferred channel for survey respondents to book outbound travel, with Ctrip strongly in the lead. 71% purchase full travel packages and 66% book flights and hotels through this OTA. 35% of survey respondents use social media platforms to book comprehensive travel packages, while the use of social media platforms for booking individual travel products is lower, at 21% for flights and hotels and 22% for other individual travel products like car rentals and attraction tickets. Although consumers do prefer OTAs for travel booking, it's going to be important to watch what happens with booking on social media in the coming years. Social media platforms, particularly RedNote right now, are adding new features to make it easier to buy and book directly from the app. And at the same time, travel agents are diversifying the way they sell their products, getting good results from social media platforms. In our January 2025 survey of Chinese travel agents who sell outbound travel, nearly half of respondents had embraced new social media platforms, RedNote and Douyin, for travel sales, and conversion rates on those platforms were above average. WeChat group chats and WeChat personal accounts were also identified as offering good conversion rates. Now, turning to what Chinese travelers do once they're in their destination, they're likely to continue using RedNote on the go to find guides and recommendations, as well as Dianping, WeChat mini programs, and potentially Alipay as well. At the same time, they'll also be sharing their trips with their peers. We found that 94% of surveyed Chinese outbound travelers have the habit of sharing their trip online, with 80% of these sharing while they're still traveling. Most share more than one post during their trip, with 34% of survey respondents sharing their experiences every day of their trip. The top 3 platforms for sharing are WeChat Moments, which is the social media feed part of WeChat with 52%, followed by RedNote or Xiaohongshu with 47%, and Douyin with 45%. The travel stories and guides that travelers share on social media then become super useful references for others in and beyond their own networks. Now I'd like to take a closer look at a number of Chinese apps and digital tools, as well as how travel brands can and should be using them. We'll start with WeChat, which is China's super app. It's used by everyone in all age groups and parts of China. Also known as the Swiss Army knife app, WeChat includes all of these functionalities and tools: chat, WeChat Moments, search, and WeCom, which is used for work purposes. Brands like tourism destinations and businesses can open official subscription or service accounts or create mini programs, which are like light apps within WeChat. There's also WeChat channels for videos, and there are a number of other functionalities, including the mobile payment platform, WeChat Pay. Brands that have official accounts on WeChat can use these to publish inspirational and informational content, helping Chinese travelers to learn about you and include you in their travel plans. Content should be created according to your brand and your industry, and we have different suggestions for hotels, restaurants, retailers, tourist attractions, and destinations. To effectively manage a WeChat account, it's crucial to identify the key topics that you want to share with your followers, and also understand which subjects resonate most with your target audience. Concentrate on these areas, striving for a balance of brand-centric and audience-engaging content. Introduced in 2020, WeChat Channels is a platform within WeChat for viewing video content. It's more public than WeChat Moments, and brands can also open accounts on WeChat channels, which will be linked to but separate from your official account. WeChat channels is really the only part of WeChat where content can easily go viral. And I wanted to share one example of this from the Geneva Tourism Board during Chinese New Year 2024. The director of the tourism board wore a brightly patterned Chinese-style floral jacket, joining a viral Chinese social media trend started by a fashion blogger. In the videos, he walks around Geneva, wishes followers a happy Chinese New Year, and invited the fashion blogger to visit Geneva. The videos got thousands of likes compared to most of Geneva's videos that usually get fewer than 100 likes. And that's because they were able to tap into this viral trend by wearing the floral pattern jacket. Another function of WeChat is mini programs, which are like light apps within WeChat, and users don't have to download them separately. Here are a few examples of how they're used by tourism brands. Lucerne Tourism shares information on attractions, food, shopping, and hotels with travel tips, itineraries, and recommendations. In Barcelona, Casa Milà allows users to buy tickets and present their digital tickets through the mini program. Aena Airports in Spain also has a mini program where travelers in the Madrid or Barcelona airports can find helpful information, shop, and contact customer service. One last example of a brand using WeChat well is the Spanish retailer El Corte Inglés. They have an official account with lots of helpful information and articles, along with links to other digital resources and customer service. They also offer a mini program with extensive guides to 4 of their branches, including maps and shop listings. The next social media platform is Weibo. This is one of China's oldest social media, and it looks a lot like Twitter. It hasn't added so many new functionalities like the other apps recently, but it can still be a really good place for viral content and communicating in an open space. Brands can use Weibo to raise awareness and boost their visitor numbers using strategies like giveaways, hashtags, and working with influencers. The biggest development in Chinese social media for tourism since the pandemic is undoubtedly the rise of Xiaohongshu, also known as Red Note, or Little Red Book, or simply Red. It's been around for more than 11 years already, but its popularity for sharing and searching for travel content surged from 2020 onwards. And you can see from our survey results earlier just how important it is, especially for younger generations. Opening an official account on RedNote is increasingly something that overseas destinations and businesses want to do. In addition to influencer marketing, which is also a good way to market on this platform. Here you can see a few examples of overseas tourism brands' RedNote accounts, including Visit California, Queensland Tourism Board in Australia, Small Luxury Hotels of the World, and Casa Milà in Barcelona. There are effective ways to use RedNote to drive sales without even having your own account, though. And the example that I'd like to share here is Disneyland Resort California. They work with 100 KOCs, or key opinion consumers, which are smaller scale influencers, focusing on locally based lifestyle and family bloggers. These KOCs published travel guides to Disneyland with posts that included practical information about how to buy tickets, as well as links to ticket sales pages on 4 online booking platforms: Ctrip, Fliggy, KKday, and Klook. Disneyland also ran a KFS media buy campaign alongside this, which is a type of campaign unique to Xiaohongshu, which includes promotion through KOLs, key opinion leaders, users' feeds, and search. The campaign got more than 8 million impressions in the end. And in terms of sales, the minimum year-on-year increase among those 4 OTAs was 16%, with 2 of them getting more than double the previous year admission ticket sales. This is a really great example of effectively marketing on RedNote by working with large numbers of KOCs, which fits in well with the RedNote algorithm that favors high quality, relevant, useful content. Here you can see examples of 3 of the family blogger KOCs who publish photo posts and videos about their experiences with kids at Disneyland. If you're creating your own RedNote content, we have some tips for writing and formatting your posts. As well as running RedNote campaign campaigns and accounts for a number of clients. Dragon Trail also collects weekly data on the performance of many, all that we can find, tourism boards overseas, airlines, cruise lines, attractions, hotels, and airports on RedNote, as well as other social media platforms. And we now have close to 2 years worth of data on RedNote content. So we can really see the trends and patterns across the best performing posts and accounts. We found that celebrity-related content can be extremely successful on RedNote as well as Weibo. Scenic views and experiences with beautiful nature photography is also popular, as are giveaways and promotions, specific useful travel guides, and event announcements, such as information about upcoming concerts. RedNote has been compared to Instagram, and it's definitely a platform with high value on aesthetics and beautiful images. But more so than on Instagram, the text is also really important. Chinese consumers use RedNote like a search engine, and they'll be looking for detailed, accurate, helpful information and advice to guide their trips. The cover images for posts are especially important, and you can take some time to design these to establish your brand identity. You'll also want to use vertical images and a 3:4 ratio for the best visual impact. You can see an example here from the Suzhou Museum in China with a striking cover image and useful written information all about visiting the museum and exhibition opening hours. Xiaohongshu post titles are also really important in performing well in the app's algorithm, as well as grabbing reader attention. You'll want to incorporate trending keywords and make readers feel something while staying concise. There are a few examples here to show how you can pique curiosity and tap into FOMO to encourage readers to open the post. For example, miss these 5 spots and your Paris trip is wasted, rather than top 5 must-visit spots in Paris. Or, why is everyone falling in love with Kyoto this autumn, as opposed to travel guide to Kyoto? Peak posting times on the app are at midday, as well as around 5 to 6 p.m. to catch users on their lunch breaks and during their commutes home and dinner time. Now, moving away from social media and onto other Chinese digital platforms and tools, I'd like to talk a little bit about Dianping, which is a really useful app that's used especially for finding and reviewing local restaurants, but it can also be used for other businesses like shops, attractions, and hotels. It's especially popular with millennials and top-tier Chinese cities, and as we saw earlier, it's used by around 1/3 of outbound travelers when planning their trips. Dianping has slightly different interfaces for domestic and international listings, as you can see here. The international section of the Dianping app also includes lots of venues and reviews, but it's more focused on tourism and destination promotion and discovery. One unique feature of Dianping's overseas resources is local dining rankings for different specialty foods, such as tapas or seafood or tiramisu. Restaurants should make sure their specialties are listed in Chinese on their Dianping pages and encourage Dianping users to try and comment on those dishes. Other strategies for Dianping marketing is by working to make your listing look nice, working with influencers, encouraging user-generated content, offering coupons, and joining Dianping promotions and themed topics. One case study for using Dianping overseas is the Cerveceria Catalana, the top-ranked Spanish restaurant in Barcelona. The listing is really nicely organized and includes more than 10,000 photos and videos uploaded by users. Even though this restaurant doesn't have any accounts of their own on Chinese social media, they do a great job with user-generated content and influencer marketing, and you can find information about it on Weibo, WeChat, Douyin, and Xiaohongshu, all posted by KOCs. Now, I want to finish up by talking about mobile payments, since this is something that will be really relevant to most tourism businesses. In China, most people have not paid for things with cash in years, and this was true far before the pandemic. Instead, payments are usually made through smartphones, and most of these transactions happen using one of 2 platforms, WeChat Pay and Alipay. These platforms are also increasingly accepted overseas. 85% of Chinese consumers use mobile payments every single day, including sending money to friends, paying for utilities, paying for things in shopping, and financial services. Alipay has nearly 900 million users and is operated through the Alibaba Group. Becoming Alipay ready can be great for tourism businesses to help them to stand out because the Alipay app offers excellent marketing opportunities like promotions of special offers and coupons, and even extra tax refunds. WeChat Pay is used by all of China's WeChat users, which is basically everyone. And one standout feature is that it can be used within a WeChat mini program for in-app purchases for things like online ticketing. As an example here, Casamila's mini program allows users to book and pay for tickets online using WeChat Pay, and both Alipay and WeChat Pay are accepted on Casamila's website. Meanwhile, in Milan, visitors to the Duomo can receive special offers if they pay with Alipay. Now, before wrapping up, let's review 6 of the top takeaways for tourism marketers looking to reach Chinese consumers online. First, China has a unique digital landscape with its own apps, platforms, OTAs, travel websites, and digital tools, and you'll need to be there to reach Chinese consumers. Second, social media is a really big part, not just of trip inspiration, but also planning, booking, and navigating too, not to mention sharing. Third, while there are a number of Chinese social media platforms, RedNote currently stands out as the most important destination information source among travelers under the age of 35. Fourth, the most common way for Chinese outbound travelers to book their trips is on OTAs. However, 1/5 of travelers are already booking via social media, and we're also increasingly seeing Chinese travel agents successfully selling outbound travel products on social media channels too. Fifth, while travel brands can do a lot through opening and running their own accounts on Chinese social media, the power of influencer marketing shouldn't be overlooked as a complement to or even a substitute for having your own accounts. And finally, in addition to social media, Chinese travelers will also be using a number of additional digital tools, especially in destination. For smaller businesses, especially restaurants and retailers, you might get more benefit from being present on Dianping and accepting Chinese mobile payments rather than worrying about regularly posting on Chinese social media channels. So thank you very much, everyone, to listening to this introduction to the Chinese digital landscape for travel. And please feel free to get in touch afterwards with your questions or check the many free resources on the Dragon Trail website.